The phone rang at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was under a Chevy Silverado, hands black with grease, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Is this Nathan? Nathan Pierce? Yeah, who's this? This is Margaret Chen, your wife's aunt. I slid out from under the truck, confused. Oh, hi, Margaret. Is everything okay? There was a pause, a long one. Nathan, I'm calling because I'm worried about Lisa. I haven't heard from her in months. Is she all right? My stomach dropped. What do you mean you haven't heard from her? She's been visiting you every other weekend for the last 4 months. Silence. Then, Nathan, I haven't seen Lisa since Christmas, and I'm not sick. I never was. The wrench slipped from my hand and clattered on the concrete. What? I don't know what she's told you, but she hasn't been here, not once. My mind started racing. 4 months of weekends, 4 months of Aunt Margaret needs me, 4 months of overnight bags and early Saturday departures, 4 months of lies. Nathan, are you still there? I was, but the garage suddenly felt too small, too hot, like all the air had been sucked out. Where is she? Margaret asked, voice tight with worry. Where has she been going? That's when I realized I had no idea, but I was about to find out. If you want to know what I found when I tracked her phone that night, hit subscribe, because what I discovered wasn't just an affair, it was something so much worse. My name is Nathan Pierce. I'm 38 years old, and I've been a mechanic in Bend, Oregon for the last 15 years. I own a small shop on the east side of town, Pierce Auto Repair. 2 bays, 1 lift, and a waiting room with coffee that's been sitting since morning. It's not fancy, but it's mine. I work 6 days a week, hands always dirty, back always sore, but honest work that pays the bills and lets me sleep at night. My wife, Lisa, was a dental hygienist. We met 10 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue. She laughed at my jokes. I liked the way she looked at the world, like everything was a little bit funny if you tilted your head right. We got married 3 years later. Small ceremony, backyard reception, the kind of wedding where everyone actually has fun instead of just pretending. For 7 years we were solid. Not perfect, nobody is, but solid. We had our routines. I'd leave for the shop at 7 a.m., she'd head to the dental office by 8, we'd meet back home around 6, cook dinner together, watch something mindless on TV. Weekends were for hiking, breweries, farmers markets, normal couple stuff. Until 4 months ago when everything shifted. It started in late January. Lisa came home from work looking worried. She set her purse down and said, I just got off the phone with Aunt Margaret. I looked up from the couch. Everything okay? Not really. She's sick. Really sick. Margaret was Lisa's mom's sister. Lived about 2 hours south in Klamath Falls. I'd met her a handful of times. Quiet woman, kept to herself, never married. What's wrong with her? I asked. They're not sure yet. Some kind of autoimmune thing. She's doing tests, but she's scared. She doesn't have anyone else.
Lisa's parents had passed years ago. Margaret was the only family she had left. What do you need? I asked. I think I should go see her this weekend, just to check in, make sure she's okay. Of course, I said. Want me to come? She shook her head. No, you've got that transmission job. I'll just go Saturday morning, be back Sunday night. It made sense. I did have a big job lined up. So that Saturday, Lisa packed an overnight bag, kissed me goodbye, and drove south. She came back Sunday evening, tired but okay. How's Margaret? I asked. Hanging in there. She's scared, but the doctors are optimistic. Good. Let me know if you need to go back. I'd probably will. She really needs the company. And that was it. Simple, reasonable. Except It happened again 2 weeks later, and then again and again. By March, it was a pattern. Every other weekend, Lisa would pack her bag, drive to Klamath Falls, and spend the night with Aunt Margaret. Sometimes she'd leave Friday night, sometimes Saturday morning. She'd come back Sunday evening, always tired, always with the same update. Margaret's doing okay, still waiting on test results. I never questioned it. Why would I? Her aunt was sick, she was being a good niece. I was proud of her, honestly. Not everyone drops everything to care for family. But looking back, there were signs, little things I didn't catch at the time. She started dressing differently on those weekends. Not scrubs or comfortable clothes like you'd wear to sit in a hospital. Nice jeans, a blouse I didn't recognize, perfume. "You're dressed up for a sick visit," I said, teasing. She laughed it off. Margaret likes when I look put together, says it makes her feel less like an invalid. Made sense. I let it go. Then there was her phone. Lisa had always been casual about it, left it on the counter, face up, didn't care if I saw notifications. But around February, that changed. Suddenly, it was always face down, always in her purse, always on silent. If I walked into a room while she was texting, she'd close the app. "Who's that?" I'd ask. "Just work stuff," or "Margaret." I told myself I was being paranoid, but the feeling didn't go away. Then there was the mileage. One Sunday night in late March, I was putting air in her tires, something I did routinely because she never checked them. I glanced at the odometer. She'd left Saturday morning. It was now Sunday night. Klamath Falls is 140 miles away. Round trip is 280 miles. Her odometer showed she'd driven 610 miles. I stared at the numbers, trying to make them make sense. Maybe she took a detour. Maybe she drove Margaret to an appointment. I didn't ask, but I started paying attention. The next trip, same thing, way more miles than a simple round trip. The trip after that, even more. And that's when the doubt started creeping in. I tried to push it down. I didn't want to be that guy, the suspicious husband, the one who doesn't trust his wife. But the doubt was like a splinter, small at first, then impossible to ignore.
One night in early April, I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, while Lisa slept beside me. I thought about the mileage, the phone, the clothes. I thought about how she'd come home from these trips and go straight to the shower, how she'd be distant for a day or two after, like she was still somewhere else in her head. I turned to look at her. She was facing away from me, breathing slow and steady, and I realized I didn't know where my wife had been spending her weekends. I didn't know who she was texting. I didn't know if Aunt Margaret was even really sick. That thought hit me like a punch. What if Margaret wasn't sick at all? What if this whole thing was a lie? I grabbed my phone and almost called Margaret right then, but I stopped, because if I was wrong, if I was just being paranoid, I'd look like an idiot. Worse, I'd hurt Lisa, accuse her of something she didn't do. So I waited, and 2 weeks later, Margaret called me. I slid out from under the Silverado, phone still pressed to my ear, grease smudged on my cheek. "Margaret, I don't understand. Lisa's been driving down to see you every other weekend since January." "Nathan, I swear to you, I haven't seen her, not once." My heart was pounding. "Are you sure? Maybe she stopped by and you—" "I'm sure," Margaret interrupted, voice firm. "I'm not sick. I never was. I don't know what she's told you, but it's not true." I leaned against the truck, legs suddenly weak. "Why are you calling now?" I asked. "Because I ran into one of Lisa's old co-workers at the grocery store. She asked how I was feeling, said Lisa had been so worried about me. I had no idea what she was talking about." Margaret's voice cracked. "Nathan, where is she? Where has she been going?" "I don't know," I whispered. We hung up.
I stood there in my garage, surrounded by tools and oil stains, and felt my entire world tilt. 4 months, 16 weekends, hundreds of miles, all lies. I didn't call Lisa right away. I needed to think. I walked into my office, a cramped room with a desk buried under invoices, and sat down. My hands were shaking. I opened my laptop and logged into our cell phone account. We were on a family plan. I could see her call logs, her data usage. I pulled up the last 4 months, and there it was. Dozens of calls to a number I didn't recognize, late at night, early in the morning, during her trips. I copied the number and ran it through a reverse lookup site. The name that came back made my blood run cold. Evan Mercer. I knew that name. Evan Mercer was a dentist, not just any dentist. Lisa's boss. He owned the practice where she worked. Mid-40s, divorced, drove a BMW, always wore expensive suits. I'd met him once at a holiday party 2 years ago. He'd shaken my hand, smiled too wide, and made a joke about how mechanics and dentists both fix things people ignore until they break. I hadn't liked him then. Now, seeing his name on my wife's call log, I hated him.
I scrolled through the records. Calls every day, some lasting an hour. Text messages, hundreds of them, and location data, because I'd set up location sharing on our phones years ago for safety, in case something happens, I'd said. She'd never turned it off. I opened the app, and I saw where she'd been every weekend for the last 4 months. Not Klamath Falls. Not anywhere near it. She'd been going to Sun River, a resort town about an hour away, the same place every time. I sat there staring at the map, little blue dots marking her location history. Sun River, a place with luxury rentals, golf courses, spas, the kind of place you go for a romantic getaway. I zoomed in. The pin dropped on a specific address, a vacation rental on the edge of the Deschutes River. I clicked on it. The listing popped up. Luxury 3-bedroom cabin, hot tub, river views, perfect for a quiet escape. My stomach turned. I looked at the dates she'd been there. Every other weekend, Friday night to Sunday afternoon. I cross-referenced Evan's phone records because, yes, I was that far gone. His location data matched hers every single time. They'd been going together for 4 months. While I was at home working on cars, believing my wife was taking care of her sick aunt. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Lisa, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. She had no idea I knew. Part of me wanted to wake her up, confront her right then. But another part, the part that had spent 15 years fixing broken things, wanted to be sure, wanted to see it with my own eyes. So I made a plan. The next morning, I told Lisa I had to go to Portland for parts run. "I'll be gone all day Saturday," I said over coffee. "Probably won't be back till late." She looked up from her phone. "Okay, I was actually thinking about going to see Margaret this weekend." Of course she was. "How's she doing?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "Better, but she gets lonely." I nodded. "Tell her I said hi." "I will." She smiled, and I smiled back. 2 liars sitting across from each other, pretending everything was fine. That Saturday, I didn't go to Portland. I followed her. I left the house early, parked my truck a few blocks away, and waited. At 9:15 a.m., Lisa walked out with her overnight bag. She got in her car, backed out of the driveway, and headed south. I waited 2 minutes, then followed. She didn't go toward Klamath Falls. She went west, toward Sun River. I stayed 3 cars back, heart pounding, hands tight on the wheel. An hour later, she pulled into the driveway of a cabin on the river, the same one from the rental listing. I parked down the road, hidden by trees, and watched. 5 minutes later, another car pulled up, a black BMW. Evan Mercer stepped out. He walked to Lisa's car, she got out, and he kissed her. Not a peck, not a friendly hug,
a kiss that said they'd done this 100 times before. They grabbed bags from the trunk and walked into the cabin together, laughing.
I sat in my truck, hands shaking, vision blurring, and I realized this wasn't just an affair. This was a whole second life. I didn't storm in. I didn't bang on the door or make a scene. I sat there for an hour, watching the cabin, trying to process what I'd just seen. Then I drove home. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just drove. And by the time I pulled into my driveway, I knew exactly what I had to do. I called a lawyer Monday morning. Her name was Karen Reeves. She'd handled a buddy's divorce a few years back. He said she was tough but fair. I sat in her office and told her everything. The trips, the lies, the phone records, the cabin. She listened, took notes, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "Do you want to try to save the marriage?" "No." "Good, because from what you've described, she's been planning this for a while. And if she's been using marital funds to finance this affair, we can use that." "What do you mean?" Karen pulled up a notepad. "If she's been paying for that cabin, for trips, for anything related to this relationship, and she used joint accounts or credit cards, that's dissipation of marital assets. We can argue she owes you reimbursement." "I hadn't thought of that. How much are we talking?" "Depends, but if she's been renting that cabin twice a month for 4 months, plus gas, meals, whatever else, could be $10,000 or more." I felt a grim satisfaction settle in my chest. What do I need to do? Document everything. Bank statements, credit card records, phone logs. I'll file for divorce and request a temporary restraining order on joint accounts so she can't drain them. How long will this take? Depends on whether she fights it, but with the evidence you have, I'd say we're in a strong position. I signed the retainer agreement and left. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was doing something instead of just drowning. I didn't tell Lisa I knew. Not yet. I played the part, came home, made dinner, asked about her day. She told me about work, about patients, about Aunt Margaret. "She's doing better," Lisa said, smiling. "The new medication is helping." I nodded. "That's great." And inside, I felt nothing. The papers were served on a Thursday. I wasn't there when it happened. Karen advised me to be somewhere public, somewhere with witnesses, in case Lisa tried to claim I was threatening or violent. So I was at the shop under a Honda Accord when my phone buzzed. A text from Karen. Papers delivered. She signed for them at 2:47 p.m. I slid out from under the car and checked the time. 2:51 p.m. Any minute now, my phone would ring. It did. "Nathan, what the hell is this?" Lisa's voice was shaking. Not sad, angry. "Divorce papers," I said calmly. "I can see that. Why? What's going on?" "You tell me, Lisa." Silence. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really? You don't know?" "No." I took a breath. "How's Aunt Margaret?" Another pause, longer this time. She's fine. Why?" "That's funny, because I talked to her last week. She said she hasn't seen you in months. She also said she's not sick. Never was."
I heard her breath catch. "Nathan?" "Where have you been going, Lisa?" "I can explain." "Sun River," I interrupted. "You've been going to Sun River with Evan." The line went dead silent. Then, quietly, "How did you know?" "Does it matter?" "Nathan, please, just let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," I said. "You lied to me for 4 months. You used your sick aunt as a cover to go fuck your boss. You spent our money on a cabin and a fantasy life while I was at home thinking you were being a good niece." My voice was steady, cold. "You don't get to explain. You get to sign the papers." "Nathan, wait." I hung up. She came home that night. I was in the garage, organizing tools, when I heard her car pull in. She walked in, eyes red, makeup smudged. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't."
Nathan, please, just listen. I set down the wrench I was holding and turned to face her. Okay, talk. She took a breath. It wasn't supposed to happen. Evan and I, we were just friends at first, but things got complicated. I was lonely. You were always working. Don't, I interrupted. Don't blame this on me. I'm not. I'm just saying we grew apart. And Evan, he made me feel. I don't care how he made you feel, I said. You're my wife. You made vows. If you were unhappy, you should have told me, not lied to me for 4 months. She wiped her eyes. I know I'm messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. No. Nathan, no, I repeated. You don't get to cheat on me, lie to me, and then ask me to fix it. That's not how this works. She started crying harder. I love you. No, you don't, I said quietly. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. I walked past her, into the house, and locked the bedroom door. She slept on the couch that night. Over the next 2 weeks, Karen worked fast. We subpoenaed bank records, credit card statements, phone logs. Everything Lisa had tried to hide came to light. The cabin rentals, $2,400 a month for 4 months, $9,600 total. Gas, hotels, miscellaneous expenses, $1,500. Total, $14,100 in marital funds spent on her affair. Karen filed a motion for reimbursement. Lisa's lawyer tried to argue it was personal spending and not dissipation. Karen destroyed that argument with a single sentence. Personal spending on an extramarital affair is the textbook definition of dissipation. The judge agreed. Lisa was ordered to reimburse me $14,100 from her share of the marital assets. But that wasn't the worst part for her. The worst part came when Evan found out. See, Evan was still married, separated but not divorced, and his wife, Jennifer, was very interested in knowing where he'd been spending his weekends. I didn't tell her, but someone did. Maybe it was Margaret, who was furious when she found out Lisa had used her as a cover. Maybe it was one of Lisa's co-workers who'd seen the texts and put 2 and 2 together. I don't know.
But 2 weeks after I filed for divorce, Evan's wife filed too, and she named Lisa as a co-respondent. In Oregon, you can't sue for alienation of affection, but you can make someone's life very, very uncomfortable. Jennifer went scorched earth. She told everyone at the dental practice. She posted on social media. She made sure everyone knew exactly what kind of person Lisa was. Within a month, Lisa had resigned from the practice, not because she was fired, because she couldn't stand the looks, the whispers, the judgment. The divorce was finalized in October. I kept the house, the shop, my truck. Lisa got her car, her retirement account, and a check for her half of the equity in the house, minus the $14,100 she owed me. She moved to Eugene, started over. I heard through mutual friends that she and Evan didn't last. Turns out, when you build a relationship on lies, it doesn't have a strong foundation. Who knew? I didn't date for a year. I focused on work, on rebuilding my life, on learning to trust again. Then, one Saturday morning, a woman brought her car in. Engine light was on. She was worried it was something expensive. I ran the diagnostics. Turned out it was just a loose gas cap. No charge, I said. She smiled. Really? Really, it's a 2-second fix. Thank you. That's really kind. Her name was Rachel. She was a teacher. She had a laugh that made the whole shop feel brighter. We started talking, then we started having coffee, then we started dating. She knew about Lisa. I told her everything, and she didn't run. You deserve someone who shows up, she said one night over dinner, not someone who pretends. I looked at her across the table and realized she was right. It's been 2 years now. Rachel and I just moved in together. The shop is doing better than ever, and I don't think about Lisa much anymore. Except when I'm under a car, hands covered in grease, and my phone rings. I always check the caller ID now, because I learned the hard way. Sometimes the most important call you'll ever get is the one that tells you everything you believed was a lie.
And sometimes that's exactly the call you need. If this story hit home, comment, "I checked." If you've ever had that moment where everything you thought you knew turned out to be a lie, this one's for you. Hit subscribe for more stories about the moment the truth comes out. Because the worst lies aren't the ones people tell you. They're the ones you tell yourself to avoid seeing what's right in front of you. And the best thing you can do when the truth finally arrives? Answer the phone.